round one for CSIM. I'm going to try and get this done a little bit earlier each week, but this week was pretty crazy. So I'm going to go over how you guys did for round one in CSIM. And if you take a look at the different team events, you've got green, red, blue, orange, and gray. And looking at the overall sales revenue, Team Blue and Team Orange came in very, very close for sure. You can see the costs and expenses. They also did spend a little bit more, Team Blue and Team Orange, so I'm guessing that they invested a little bit more in some production costs. There's a little bit more from a production and also from a feature, at least with Team Blue. But it also looks like they spent a little bit more on contract manufacturing and definitely research and design. So we'll see how that panned out as we look at utilization and a few other things. So total profit for the round is pretty consistent for every team. So you guys are all right there. This is probably the most even I've seen profit for the round, especially in round one, for you guys to be so neck and neck. So even though you may not have had as much revenue as maybe one of the other teams, definitely you managed your costs so that your profit levels were similar. So I think that's pretty incredible. I don't know that I've ever seen that. So if I look at some of the liabilities down here, this is going to really reinforce a lot of what you have already saw on the top. Total liabilities are pretty much equal. Your equity right now is pretty equal, and your total assets are pretty equal right across the board. So there's really not much to note there that's different. You can also drill into each of these country region areas, and you'll find most cases, especially after the first round, were negative in profit for the US. That is attributed to a number of different reasons. I think a lot of times we spend a little bit more from a production perspective in the United States, and also from research and design. That's where the majority of that cost ends up going for research and design. So that's usually why that profit level looks a little bit lower that first round. So, but you'll see in Asia, you're probably all a little bit higher. Yep. And in Europe as well. So mostly I think that's attributed to the cost of research and design and feature costs. Because you can see even in Europe, there's no research and design attached to it, and there's none in Asia as well. So when you look at the US and you find that your profit levels are a little bit lower, that's why. If I look at ratios, that's the next tab over. The ratios really, the thing that I pay the most attention to here is return on capital. Anytime that you can be in the 15 to 20s percent for return on capital, you're doing really, really well. So everybody is doing really well in this area. I think that's pretty awesome. So I don't really have too much to report on that. Looking at the market report, this is looking at overall market share. So you all started at 20%. Team Blue and Team Orange did take a little bit of market share, but it's not all lost because it's a small portion of market share. You can tell that they've already invested in technology too. So as we go along, that's just something to pay attention to. That's why the market share is probably a little bit higher, because they invested right away in a new technology and did sell that. So the new technology, they're offering in all three of the regions. You can tell also by prices, just to kind of watch your prices for your technology. Team Red is an example. I'm not sure how many features you have, so this may play a part in why your price is as high as it is, but just understand kind of where everybody's at from a price perspective. Orange Blossoms, you probably want to watch your technology too. In Asia, although you may have more features in that, but it is a little bit higher than Team Blue's offering, as well as Team Blue Technology 2 in Europe. You're a little bit higher than Orange Blossoms, but otherwise you guys are pretty close in all areas. And you just want to make sure that pricing is a little tricky. You want to make sure you're covering your costs and making a profit, and not selling it too cheap that you don't make money, but not too expensive that you price yourself out. So it's really kind of a fine-tuned area that you'll get the hang of after a while. So when you look at this tab on the US will show you the number of features, so you can tell if your price is maybe a little out of whack. So I think Team Blue had a few more features in this area. Team Gray did as well for Technology 1. So your prices might be a little bit higher. Team Green, your price is probably a little low, I'm guessing. Although your sales were definitely higher in that area, so that helped you. If you look at Technology 2 and the prices, you both have the same number of features. So you just want to take a look at definitely your sales and your demand for that. Orange Blossoms might be just a titch high in that area. You'll just have to kind of play that by ear. But you did still sell quite a bit. And that's just the US, so it's going to be different for each region. You can take a look at that. Your production report, this is looking at utilization, and you guys are all, this is probably, again, the best utilization I've seen in any round that we've done this, so kudos to all of you. Having utilization in the 70s and 80s for the first round is in fact incredible. Most often I have a team or two that are in the 20 percentile for capacity utilization. One of the things that impacts this is demand, clearly. So if you overthought your demand or overshot your demand, you may not have utilized your capacity to a full extent. You also, if you're at 100%, that means you're completely out of utilization and you probably lost some business. So there is, again, it's a balancing act and a lot of trade-offs that's going into making those decisions. This also looks at the number of plants that you're making year over year to make sure that you can keep up with the production. The other thing that you can take a look at is in this details tab under production. You can take a look at your contract manufacturing. So if your utilization was a little bit low, like in green as an example, you may not want to use any contract manufacturing, or maybe just for Asia because you don't have a plant there yet. So that might be something to think about. That will help you utilize your capacity a little bit more. And then this is telling you how much free capacity you still have available in the US and in Asia. Asia, you guys don't have any plants left. So remember, plants take 2 years or 2 rounds before they're actually in place. And then the last tab is the cost report. And looking at your average cost, you really shouldn't have any logistics costs for the US unless you ran out of product in the US to sell. And then this also goes through your production costs. So you want to make sure you guys are all pretty much in balance with your production costs, but it's just something to pay attention to. Team Green, again, I would cut back on this because your utilization is still a little bit lower. So I think you have a little bit room there. So that is the essence of this round. So if I go to the decisions tab and just take a look at the team area, I'm just going to pick green for team for this next round. We're going to see that there's a breakthrough in network technology, so Tech 4 is now available. Research and design expenses for developing the new technology are to be enormous, so that's just thinking about that. And the phenomenal growth experience last year seems to be slowing down. So these are just some things to pay attention to. Make sure you read this tab before you move forward in making your team decisions. Have a great week.